My name is Heydee Refutation, and today I'm going to be refuting Heydee Refutation claim that minimum wage increase will cause more harm than good. So his first secondary claim was that typically minimum wage increases reduce hours worked and available jobs for low wage and low skill individuals. His second secondary claim was that the increased minimum wage will most affect services that the impoverished use, increasing their costs. So my response to his secondary claim, number one, is that through Enrique's evidence used for his first secondary claim is factual and credible, but he made a reasoning by generalization by using one study in Seattle conducted by Washington University. A more recent discovery made by an economist at the Center of Wage and Employment Dynamics Institute for Research on Labor and Employment at UC Berkeley conducted a study that was published September 6, 2018, unlike Enrique's study, which was published June 2017 and revised May 2018. This study ranged across 6 cities, including San Francisco, Los Angeles, New York City, and Seattle. The study concluded that hours did go down as wages rose, as Enrique said, but they did not reduce available jobs for low-skill individuals, as he claimed. People in Seattle lost a total of $74 overall due to hours, but did not and will not lose their jobs. Losing money is not as bad as losing your job, especially if one is not self-employed. So, statistical evidence that I found provided by the Bureau of Labor Statistics that will be mentioned in the coming minutes, that Enrique had also mentioned, was that the statement that the declining rate of baby boomers in the workforce will result. Statistical evidence that I found provided by the Bureau of Labor Statistics contradicts Enrique's statement by explaining that the declining rate, baby boomers, combined with the aging of the population, which is us, will result in the labor force continuing to grow until 2024. A growing labor force equals to more available jobs. Therefore, Enrique's claim is inaccurate. Enrique goes on with further reasoning that being the majority of people working minimum wage are teens and not adults over the age of 19. He uses evidence from the Washington Post that references the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which I had mentioned before, from the year of 2013. I found evidence from the same source from 2015 that states that prime age workers, 25 to 54 years of age, have the strongest ties to the labor market, numbering at 100.8 million in 2014. Again, the comparison, response to secondary claim 2. Now, again, the comparison to teenagers and adults comes up as Enrique brings it up again, but it does not justify his claim that the impoverished will be affected. He says that 4% of single parents work a minimum wage job, putting the figure below the national average, according to the Heritage Foundation. Upon further research, the source has been deemed right bias, with the mixed factual reporting. This puts the credibility of the evidence he used at risk. He also brings up the Washington University study once again, which claims that no jobs were lost due to the increase, but the behavior of the employer did change, less hiring. This is true, but also serves no purpose in supporting his secondary claim. Lastly, Enrique touches on the subject of childcare programs being affected by the minimum wage increase. He explicitly states that the impoverished will not be able to afford daycare if minimum wage keeps rising. This example was seen in his evidence from the Washington University study that states that low-income families will be charged more in response to the minimum wage increase. This is true for child centers that are not funded by the government. A program called Head Start, which is funded by the government, is free for low-income families if they qualify. Enrique's evidence doesn't state whether these families even qualified or knew about Head Start. So, to wrap it all up, based on Enrique's evidence, on his generalizations, biased evidence, and lack of connections of evidence with secondary claim 2, minimum wage does not cause more harm than good.
Okay, structurally everything is easy to follow. On the first point, you basically suggest that a more recent study found minimal impact. The change in the research that you found and the more extensive study doesn't seem to deny that there is an impact of the increase in the minimum wage on hours, but it does tend to diminish the issue of losing jobs. So I'm still not sure that that's a very strong endorsement of an increased minimum wage, but it does diminish the job threat to some degree. The information that you had that followed up from the BLS was talking, the advocate presented evidence about how few people who are wage earners at the minimum wage level fit into more adult categories, that is primarily younger people. And your evidence says, well, the vast majority of people interested in the labor market are adults. I'm going, how does that respond to that particular point? That was unclear to me entirely, so I don't know that that point helps you very much. There is a criticism of the Heritage Foundation research because you said the source is rated as biased with mixed reporting, therefore don't trust it. I'm going, who rated it as biased? I don't know where you got that conclusion, and where is the mixed reporting, especially when what is being presented here is a piece of factual data about the percentage of people who earn at that particular level. If it's an inference that's being drawn, I could see maybe there would be some potential bias there, but if it's a statistic, unless there's a reason to believe that this organization made up numbers, I'm not sure that your criticism is applicable here. And again, I do think that you have to tell us how it is that you arrived at this particular conclusion. You don't really give us a criteria for determining the bias on that situation. And for the last point, you're kind of putting the onus on the advocate to suggest that they should show that people can't afford, that people know about the daycare or they qualify for it. I think the advocate's position was that if they get a higher minimum wage, they won't qualify for it because it would put them outside of the income levels required to get access to the free daycare. So I don't know that he did a very good job demonstrating how significant that would be, but your question sort of goes in the backwards direction on that. There's not any demonstration. The information that the daycare centers operated by the government are free. That's good. Are there a sufficient number to cover all of those people who are minimum wage earners who have children going to daycare? I don't know. I mean, I think that would have made your argument a little bit stronger on that particular point. If you could say 95% of the people who are at this wage level get federal daycare assistance and often pay nothing, that would make the argument a little bit stronger there. All right. Thank you.